time for Southern Fried Baseball, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Jake McKeever as he talks everything SEC baseball and more.
Welcome in, College Baseball Central fans, back here again on another Monday recapping everything that went down in Week 6 in the SEC. We are obviously past the halfway point, coming down that backstretch. There's a few teams that are running out of time in series. There's a few teams that got really, really big jumps. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Andrew, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. Good. Great weekend of SEC baseball I got to watch. So
want to give a big shout out to Andrew. He had his senior day at Loyola. He is officially moving on to the post-grad world with the rest of us. So Andrew, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's obviously a big accomplishment. Senior day for some of these SEC kids will be coming up here shortly. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Probably the biggest shocker of the weekend, Texas A&M goes into Fayetteville, Arkansas, and knocks off 2 of 3 from the Arkansas Razorbacks. They win on Thursday night, play doubleheader Friday. A&M splits with them, taking game 2. Really great outings from Weston Moss out of that bullpen on Friday night as Ryan Prager, again, was shaky. And, A&M just added on late. That really was kind of the answer all weekend for him, if you will.
Yeah, this A&M team, I mean, if you watched our show Thursday afternoon, I did a little yeah, they didn't sweep them. But still, going into Arkansas and being able to take 2 out of 3, Texas A&M's entering the conversation of the hottest team in the country right now. Just Jace Laviette is starting to like get back to what people expected him to be this year. He went off this weekend, and then pitching, Weston Moss, you said it. They're starting to get more guys like stepping up now. Game 2 they dropped. They could have swept this series. They really
Game 2 was, I'm not going to blame the umpires or anything like that because, Arkansas ended up beating them by 6 runs. But, A&M has bases loaded in the top half of the 5th. They get rung up on a questionable call and then immediately give up that 6 runs down the stretch, and that really was the story of the game. Aiden Sims was really great. The thing that's so crazy to me about A&M is I felt like at the beginning of the year we said they almost had to be perfect to win games. Like their starting pitching had to go 7 or 8 innings. And now they're winning games with the complete opposite. Like Justin Lamke gets chased in the 4th with 7 runs. Granted, they lost. Prager gets chased really early. And they have a bunch of bullpen guys just step up. That's the part that's been so crazy for me.
Yeah, Luke Jackson, game 3, they chased Miles Patton 4 1/3. He did strike out 7, but he did end up throwing 96 pitches during that time. But Luke Jackson was phenomenal out of the pen, only giving up 2 hits and striking out 5.
And he did it over a rain delay, too. That was the even craziest part.
That's even because I remember texting you, like, trying to figure out, because they reached that 6th inning mark. And you were joking with me, is like, it would be really funny if A&M kind of just packed it up and left and gave Arkansas a little like, hey, Kentucky tried doing it to us, or Kentucky did do it to us, but
we need to bring that up, by the way. We'll bring it up between A&M and Texas, but something happened very similar. But yeah, A&M had played enough for it to count. They ended up not mattering. They actually ended up adding on a little bit more. Jace Laviette had 3 home runs over the course of the weekend, homering in all 3 games. Really, him and Easton Carmichael had almost deja vu type games, kicking it off the same way. Arkansas went with Gage Wood. We saw the return of Gage Wood, only lasting 1 batter. A&M ambushed him, like you said. Ben Bybee came in out of the bullpen through 3 innings and Gabe Gackle down the stretch.
Yeah.
Did they move Gabe Gackle back into that starter role? That feels like almost a lock, if you will.
It's so tough because last year he was so good at the bullpen, and then maybe they would try like an opener role. Like, I think that's where they were trying to go with Gage Wood here. They were trying to get Gage Wood at least 1 or 2 innings. 20 pitches was probably his max. So 1 to 2 innings, and then have Gackle follow up Wood. But since Gage Wood kind of just didn't have it, they decided
he got ambushed.
Yeah,
immediately ambushed.
They went to Ben Bybee and said, hey, like, if our bats can figure it out, we'll go to Gabe to finish it, and that's what ended up happening. But yeah,
then on game three was, I think, one of the weirdest A&M games because you felt like Arkansas really had the advantage because they didn't throw Jimenez, they didn't throw Wiggins, they didn't throw Fouch, and they had Beetle Cheese going, who was a little bit probably. Honestly, I'll say this: this was probably one of the few times all season where Miles Patton, on paper, wasn't the most talented pitcher pitching on Sunday.
No,
and he was good enough. They really ran up the pitch count, and then Luke Jackson and Caden Wilson really slammed the door. But, I mean, if you're looking at the box scores, Aiden Jimenez, who's been absolute nails for them, 2 innings, 28 pitches, 2 runs allowed. Carson Wiggins, only lasting an inning, 2 walks, 1 hit allowed. Fouch, 1 1/3, 2 ERA. It was just an onslaught of Texas A&M, if you will. I mean, they're getting production from everybody in this lineup, I will say. I mean, here's the part that's a little bit weird, and they're still kind of working back. I will say this: Caden Sorrell seems like he's at about 80 or 90%. He's legging out a ton of balls. Obviously, it's a doubleheader, so you don't want to exhaust him. But what do they do with the platoon of Caden Sorrell, Hayden Schott, Gavin Cash, even Jamal George a little bit because he's such a good athlete and I think does a lot of things dynamically? I mean, Michael Early has some good problems to kind of work through here, if you will.
Yeah, he does. I mean, Jamal George had a pretty good weekend. He went 3 for 8, I think. I mean, you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, he batted under 500 in a weekend. But, like, he still works very good at bats. He's a very good athlete out there in left field for them. It's a very good problem to have. I think the odd man out is Jamal George, though, because of his at-bats, I think. But it's a very good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, Cash and Schott and Sorrell to some extent, but I mean, Sorrell's not going to get taken out of the lineup, are all left-handed hitters, and or left-handed hitters. Jamal George is a right-hander. Gavin Cash, I think, plays well. Binderup's been hitting good too. That's the other part that kind of works into this equation.
Yeah, he's starting to picking it up after that. After last week, he started to kind of pick up the pace. That's this whole A&M team.
Yeah.
Ever since that Tennessee series, something clicked. They get no hit, they get run ruled, and then someone pissed in their Cheerios or something and just said, "Okay, you know what? We're back."
Someone told them they didn't have talent, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I wonder who that person was.
But we'll talk about it more on our Wednesday show. But do you start to sound the alarms if you are for Arkansas? Because I will say this: I don't think they played bad this weekend again. Obviously, they weren't 2 1-run losses on Saturday and Sunday like last week. The end of the doubleheader, they kind of got exposed, and it was, I think, a true loss. Thursday, it was 50-50, but they get Texas, LSU, Tennessee back-to-back weekends down the stretch. Yeah. So those are in Fayetteville, but, I mean, they sit at 13-5 in the SEC, so they're in the tournament, if you will. But I feel like they have bigger aspirations to be a host, if not a super regional host.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting this past week, they were my number 2. They're going to be dropping in my rankings. This is a good test for them to see, are we really this team that we think we can be, or we'll be a regional host, or if we do win our regional, we're probably going to Oregon State.
Them or LSU, I feel like is going to be the one that ends up going up there. Florida's trending in the right direction. They're one of the hottest teams in the country.
Yeah.
Texas is the number 1 team. LSU, they play at the box.
One after Texas seems to be the humbler, as you must.
Yes, we'll talk. That's actually a good transition into Texas right now. Texas definitely does seem to be the kind of widow maker, if you will. They faced an Auburn team that, coming off a sweep of LSU, a lot of people had them top 10 in the country. D1 had them at the top 8. Thursday night, they get Jared Spencer out after 3 innings due to an injury, and Texas runs out another arm, if you will. Max Grubbs goes 4 1/3. They bring in Volantis to slam the door. That's 6 1/3, 3 hits, no runs allowed for the bullpen, if you will. They started Adrian Rodriguez out in left. He eventually moved into second. Mendoza DH'd. Borba played third. I mean, seems like every like little lever that I don't know if it's Jim Sosnick, I don't know if it's Troy Tulowitzki, but every single lever that they pull with the injuries seems to just hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they're hitting on 17 and getting that 4 every single time. I mean, like I said, Jonah Williams comes in. I do want to pull up the stats on Jonah Williams' 2 games because I got to see the one on Sunday, and Jonah Williams is it reminds me a ton of Kyler Murray, where he's just a freak athlete. He bunted for a hit, and I have to go back and look at it and see where the third baseman was played, but by the time he fielded the ball, he was basically already there. He scored from second on a hit, and he probably got from third to home in like 3 steps, like because his strides were so long.
Yeah.
This kid's 17. This kid should be a senior in high school right now, and he is undoubtedly the most athletic player on a college field. And Auburn has a ton of athletes. That's the other thing, is Auburn's an athletic team.
Yeah, Auburn. I mean, you have Chris Rembert, Cooper McMurray, Bub Terrell. Chase Freilich as well. They're hell athletes. But Jonah Williams put all of them to shame.
Yeah, and it wasn't even close. I'll say that. Here's the part that's even crazier is Tommy Farmer's another really good athlete. Yeah. And Jonah dwarfs him. Like, the craziest part was I was sitting down in the stands, and there was a kid behind me who was 15, and his mom goes, that kid's 2 years older than you. And it was just like the craziest thing. Like, people like Jonah Williams shouldn't exist. Like, every part of your brain is like, this kid shouldn't exist. Like, he's a video game character.
Yeah, he's your MLB The Show. If they somehow make a game where you can do MLB The Show and collide it with your Madden or NCAA player, that is literally what Jonah Williams is right now.
Yeah, he's insane. Again, he did really good, but there were a ton of other positives. It's weird that we've actually gone this long without talking about it, because he's probably going to be the SEC Player of the Year. Kimball Schusler, the old man, if you will, reduced some of his numbers. 2 for 3 on Friday, 3 for 4 on Saturday, 3 for 5 with 8 RBIs in the run rule victory over Auburn. The shoes is loose, if you will.
Yeah, what a weekend.
Everybody.
You were sending me SEC Player of the Weeks, and I was waiting for him to say, where's Kimball? Where's Kimball? This guy had 8 RBIs in the game, 2 home runs. It feels everything's going right for this Texas lineup. And you can talk about Rylan Galvan. You can talk about Ethan Mendoza. You can talk about Adrian Rodriguez. You can talk about Jonah Williams and Casey Borba. But, like, Kimball right in the middle of that lineup is just like, he doesn't get enough credit, doesn't get talked about enough. And I feel like a lot of the Texas fans that follow me, they're going to watch this and be like, oh, well, like, we talk about Kimball, but it's like, yeah, because you're Texas-based. The whole SEC does not talk about him or a bunch of these Texas guys, for a matter of fact.
And I mean, the story of Kimball Schusler is just an incredible one. I mean, he's a true freshman at A&M back in 2021. Jim Sosnick comes in, immediately goes and gets a portal catcher and a few other guys. Kimball hits the portal, goes to Texas. Really battles from a collegiate career too as well. Was never expected to start. Junior year, he misses the entire season due to injury. That's in 2023. And then last year, he hits a home run in the A&M regional, if you will, points to Jim Sosnick. And, a couple weeks later, Jim Sosnick was his head coach. The coach, I assume, because Kimball Sosnick that I've heard since Kimball Schusler's from a family of Aggies, I assume that Jim Sosnick has cut him back, in 2022.
Yeah.
And just the ultimate redemption arc of 3 years later, you're starting for the same coach that cut you. You're on an insane tear, one of the captains of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Kimball. I mean, he's somebody that I always really want to root for. He's somebody that was shown the door, immediately comes in and really finds himself a niche.
Yeah.
The home run that Casey Borba hit, by the way, was probably the furthest home run I think I've ever seen it at the Dish. It hit so he clears the bullpen, so it's already 340 down the line, and it takes a huge, massive bounce. So I have to have some of the Occupy people, if it hit the street in the air behind the Dish. It was just an unreal display of power from Casey Borba. And he's somebody that is quickly kind of finding himself right on that cut line, if you will, on if he's going to play or not. But, an impressive weekend. There's really not too much that you can nitpick on this Texas team. But for Auburn, again, the bully of Texas, if you will, they exposed Auburn for really everything that we've been saying since the beginning of the year, that this team relied too much on Ike Irish, and this team was a revolving door of a Saturday and Sunday where, everything had to go right for them with the bullpen where they do the 3-inning thing. And Texas exposed them this weekend.
Yeah, we've even gotten to the point in that game 3 where like they got to Alvarez right away, and it's like they just try and like throw arm after arm. They tried Ryan Hetzler in that like long relief role after Alvarez. He wasn't good. Cade Fisher, it's weird with Cade Fisher because he looked so good last week, and he has shown glimpses of like greatness this year, but it's just like he hasn't panned out since his injury. I mean, Sam Dutton had another. It was a good outing.
Good enough. It was good enough.
He left in a tie. I mean,
if you would have told Auburn, hey, Dutton's going to get you into the 6th in a tie game, I'm sure they would have taken that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Alvarez, I feel like, right when we think he's about to be the Sunday guy, he goes out and throws an absolute dud, which I will say this. The defense didn't help him out a ton. There was that error at third early in the game. Actually, I don't even think it got ruled an error. But there was a play at third that really should have been. Oh, yeah, Eric Snow. Yeah. Sorry, for some reason I thought Eric Snow played in center, but it's Bristol Carter, another transfer. But, there's a few plays that, that just have to be made. Eric Snow, not covering a bunt, if you will, with Jonah Williams. Like, there's just numerous plays where, again, a quality team like Texas exposes you. And I feel like Auburn played like a team that isn't in Tier 1 yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're middle of the pack French too for me.
They're behind Vandy right now for me.
Yeah, I think Vandy's gone up now.
Which is weird because Auburn beat Vandy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, they're definitely if they were to play right now, I'd take Vandy.
But yeah, I'd take Vandy 100%. Actually, yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will say this: there was that tweet that went around that said, Texas is only good because of their schedule, or Texas was gifted this insane schedule. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'll tell you mine after this.
I don't think they weren't gifted a good schedule. They're in the SEC. The SEC is the top tier of college athletics. They play the best. Besides Missouri, they get in these dogfights. The Georgia series, every game in that series was a dogfight. The Kentucky series last week, every game of that was a dogfight. The LSU game, outside of game 1, maybe those games were dogfights. Mississippi State, those games were dogfights. They haven't.
They got Mississippi State when people still cared about Mississippi State too. That's the other thing.
I think there's a difference when the whole home road factor doesn't really factor into baseball because the fans don't it's not like you have a headset in football and you're in Death Valley and you got people screaming profanities at you. I'm
going to go the opposite. I think it's the opposite. I think it's tough to go on the road regardless because, Georgia's a team that's built to play it fully with that short right field.
Yeah.
Texas is a team that, loves fly ball hitters because it goes 340 down the line. But Texas was gifted
crowd anyway.
Yeah, Texas is gifted. Well, I will actually take that back. Every single team that gets to play Missouri on the road feels like cheating, and that's Texas, that's OU, that's every single team that gets to play Missouri on the road. It does feel like cheating, but outside of that, I mean, KPP is a tough place to play. The Dude's a tough place to play. I mean, Texas is not the number 1 team in the country because they played an easy schedule. That's just not
Exactly. They
Again, I'll say that OU's played just as easy of a schedule in Texas in my head.
Yeah.
Who else is going up there to Missouri?
Georgia, of course. Georgia is. Mississippi State.
That's gonna totally dwarf.
And I'm telling you, it's going to come down. Mississippi State's going to Missouri. It's gonna be 0-27 against like 13 and 14.
Should we go up there? Should we go up there for one of those games?
Oh,
I might have to. I mean, I'll be there that weekend before. God, that'll be. I don't want to do back-to-back weekends with Missouri.
I've already seen them. I mean, maybe though. Maybe that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday game too, because they need that extra rest going into Hoover.
I mean, then at least they're honest with themselves and they know that they're going to be playing early in the day, if like early in the weekend.
Yeah.
So that is a good transition into Missouri, Oklahoma. We won't spend too much time on them because, I mean, Missouri just got their teeth kicked in. 17-7, 12-1, and 17-4. Lots of walks, lots of home runs. Easton Carmichael had a good one. The Friday game one was a little bit closer, and then OU just immediately added on.
Yeah.
You know, Missouri is 0-18 at this point in the season. I'll read you off some of their – hold on, my computer's messing up. Their next 3 series. Tell me percentage they win a singular game.
Okay.
At Alabama. 0. They're struggling.
Yep. But I think that game yesterday against LSU kind of gets them going on a good path.
Georgia at home.
0. Come on.
Texas A&M on the road. 10.
Yeah, I'll go 10%. Get the A&M people going at me.
Excuse me, if you will. And Mississippi State, they play them 3 days in a row.
I'm actually going to 25% on this one.
I will say this, as we kind of speculate on this, the magic numbers that Mississippi State needs based on their OOC is 13, right?
Yep.
They sit at 6-12. They get Auburn, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Oh, dude, they're either going to be dead after that Ole Miss series, or they are going to be so unbelievably red hot. They're going to add to their turn.
They own Ole Miss.
They always do.
They own Mike Bianco.
So I mean, they get Auburn. Dude, Auburn's another one. I feel like they could win. Let's say 7 after Auburn, 9 after Kentucky, 11 after Ole Miss, 14 after Missouri. They're gonna have to have they're gonna be playing for so much.
I'm telling you, that's gonna be a big weekend. You know, I'm gonna make a reminder to myself in the final week of the SEC pick'em that we have to pick Missouri over Mississippi State. I'm going with that. You can clip it right now. Missouri is going to beat Mississippi State in the final weekend of the year.
Also, there's a rumor going around that there's a school in the Southland that might have to forfeit some of those games due to using an ineligible player. They will still have more conference wins than Missouri, and only 3 of their games have mattered.
There's a team in the NAI. There's a couple teams in the NAI might also have that as well, and they still might have more conference wins than
even Yeshiva has a conference win.
That's crazy.
Here's the thing that I want to know is this is going to go down as the single worst season of any school in the SEC by far, right?
Yes. I mean, yes, because and my question is, does Missouri well, it's not if Missouri makes a change, it's how serious they take the change.
I'll say this about it. I mean, it's not like Carrick Johnson's fault at all, is it?
But But you can't go 0-30 in a SEC. You can't go 0-30 in the SEC or in D1 baseball. Arkansas Pine Bluff is 9-6 in the SWAC. Yes, it's the SWAC. Yes, they lost both games to Missouri, but Arkansas Pine Bluff, who was projected to go 3-64 or 3-50 this year on Warren Nolan this year, which I get it. Warren Nolan does all those predictions. It's a little out of pocket. But Arkansas Pine Bluffs has more conference wins than Missouri. And it's nothing against what Logan Stout's doing at Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think he's got that.
I actually really like Logan Stout. I should say.
I think he's got that program going in one hell of a direction. I think he's got that program going to compete for the SWAC this year and going forward. But you can't go 0-30 in the SEC and not expect to have your name get a calling and get a pink slip on your way out.
So the fewest losses in SEC history since they moved to the 30 games is Georgia had 5 in 2010 and Mississippi State had 6. I think.
That's wins or losses?
That's wins. They had 5 wins. I don't think Missouri would even get close to that. Crazier things have happened. I remember, a few years ago, Mississippi State was down really bad after that national championship. Yeah, I'm going back. Sorry, just as you were talking, I was going back and seeing SEC standings. I don't think Kentucky. I mean, this is just unfathomably bad.
That's crazy.
Vanderbilt won 5 games in 2000. This is just they're not going to win 5 games.
No.
They're not going to win 3 games.
They got to pray that Arkansas lost 7 in 20 or won 7 in 2016. They're not going to get that.
They have been run ruled. Just an astronomical amount too. That's the other part that's I think the most embarrassing.
Alabama got 5 in 2017.
I mean, here's their score. Here's their scores in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Run ruled in every game against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Florida beat them by 9, 5-1. Arkansas beats them by 14, 10, 18. Run ruled in every single game. Texas run rules them Friday, then 7-4, 7-1. But I want to add that 7-1 game from Texas, they had 3 starters due to injuries.
Yes.
And they still beat them 7-1. I feel like you need to make a change as a coach. And this is a question for Missouri Boosters. This is not a question for me. You need to make a change when you lose the team. And if you're asking yourself if this guy has lost the team, he probably has. And I'm not saying that Carrick Johnson has lost the team. I mean, that is the most untalked about program in the country.
Yeah.
But the second he loses the team. But are they still fighting for Carrick? That's the real question.
That's the thing. Because everything I've heard from former players of his and current players of him, they say that they say they love him. So yeah. I don't think he'll ever lose the locker room. But this team feels more of a high school team that you we're playing baseball for 4 more years and we're not trying to improve ourselves to compete in this. It feels like every game they know they're going out there and they're just going to get their asses handed to them.
Yes, that's what it feels. It feels like a midweek is what it really feels like. Every single game that Missouri plays is you know that you could throw the shittiest of shit pitchers that you have on your staff, and they are going to shove. And if you find yourself in a 5-2 game in the third, their pitching's going to give it up.
I ask you this. We have LSU Shreveport in the NAIA, who is, I think, 37-0 after this weekend. They got one more weekend to see if they can go 40-0 in the regular season. I think LSUS could put up a better fight against Missouri, and then some of these NAIA teams could put up against LSU West.
Who would win a series? LSU, Shreveport, or Missouri? They are NAIA. Keep that in mind. I know you play NAIA.
But LSU West has a lot of like D1 and D2 like former players. I think Missouri could take 2 out of 3, but I think LSU West takes 1.
I mean, this is a team again that sits at they have 20. They have 12 wins, not 20. That would have been they have 12 wins. 13 wins outside of the SEC. So they have
13 wins in general.
Yes, they lost to Evansville, who they split with Evansville, who Kentucky beat the doors off of. They split with Binghamton.
They lost to Alabama State. They lost to Alabama State.
Alabama State's, I think, decent in the SWAC.
I think they lead the SWAC, actually.
No, FAMU leads the SWAC because they're 14. They're 13-5. Okay, but still, where would Missouri finish in the SWAC then? That's the real question.
I mean, they did kick Arkansas, or no, they nearly lost one of the games. Arkansas Lime Bluff.
They almost lost to FAMU.
I think they finished like
4th,
3rd. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we spent enough time talking about Missouri. Like I said, OU was tremendous. Eastern Carmichael. We did institute a new rule for those of us that follow the Players of the Week series. No more Missouri. So if you played Missouri, you are exempt. So we have now 2 rules: 1 player per team, and you cannot have played Missouri. Probably the shocker of the weekend, South Carolina shows a ton of grit, a ton of fight. Just when you think that they're about to fold the tent, they win 3-2 Thursday, 7-2 Friday. We will not talk about what happened Saturday in terms of South Carolina positivity, but they sit 2-3. They sit 4-14 in the SEC with series at Kentucky, Florida, Auburn, and LSU coming up. 3 of those 4 are winning series. They need 8 wins in the next 4 weeks. What would you put South Carolina's tournament chances at right this second?
I'm starting to creep actually on 50-50.
I really want to too.
I really want to start buying back into the South Carolina team. You asked the question on Twitter, who got the most hope after this weekend? I think it is South Carolina fans, and I think it is the South Carolina team. But going into Lexington next weekend and
make or break, it's going to be one of those.
Yes. Because looking at this series coming up, Kentucky, Florida, Auburn, and then you finish at home against LSU, thankfully.
You don't know what LSU is going to be playing for at that point.
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Their series could be decided. That is the other thing that you have to kind of keep in mind. South Carolina sits at a RPI of 50, strength of schedule of 15. They are 19-0 against teams ranked 26th and below in terms of RPI. They have 4 RPI top 25 wins, 4 more than Iowa, who a lot of people are talking about as being ranked. I want to put them at 45%. I really like them if they can figure out a few things, mostly their health.
Yes, I mean, it feels like every week when we do our live show on Wednesday and we get that first availability report, we instantly go to South Carolina to see how many guys are out because they got the longest one, and it feels like it's just guys that have been there the whole year, and then like randomly Dylan Eskew with whatever.
Kennedy Jones has randomly been on there a few times.
Yeah, with whatever bad luck they have over there, it's whatever they have at Founders Park. Was Founders Park built on like an old cemetery or something?
I think that's Arkansas. That's been the Arkansas River for a long time. But here was the part that really jumped out to me about that one that Brandon Stone threw a complete game shutout. First off, that Brandon Stone threw a complete game shutout. No walks across 9 innings. But South Carolina won a game where Ethan Petrie didn't record a hit. He went 0 for 4. So, I mean, it's a lineup that can do a lot of things when they get guys on, and they'll single you to death. That's what we've been saying for I think months at this point.
Yeah, we've been saying that all year at this point.
So in Brandon Stone's game, they get 6 hits. How many extra base hits are they? It's our favorite game of the weekend.
0.
1. Nathan Hall doubled.
Oh yeah.
In their Saturday victory, they got 7 hits. How many of them were for extra bases?
Nathan Hall again, I think, huh?
Yep, Nathan Hall and Blake Jackson each homeward. So that brings our total below 4.5. So
3.
they just single you to death. And it's so funny to watch because they get good swings on balls. That's the other part that's kind of crazy is they're not like they're bleeders.
Does South Carolina have a bat deal?
They're swinging those BB cores that like first came out. Like they're probably like, oh, like our last national championship was when the first BB cores came out that were super dead. So let's just like recreate those 2013 BB cores.
Yeah,
that's what they're probably doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because Nathan Hall does have a really good swing, and when he does put bat to ball, he does have legitimate chances to do power and do damage, but it just seems like everything's falling for like a single.
I really like Dalton Marchand's swing. He's another one that I really like his swing going forward. Actually reminds me a ton of my swing. If you're ever curious what my swing looked like from 10 years ago. But he's got a ton of pop. He does a great job generating backspin on it. He has really a good understanding of the zone, which I think kind of comes back to bite him in the butt. Mm-hmm. But is this the beginning of the end for Ole Miss?
Yes.
Their resume sits at 10-8. They get Vandy, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Auburn. They need 4 wins across 4 weekends for them.
I think they'll get it, but it's just like they're fighting against teams that also need these wins.
If they have a really bad loss though. They sit at 9-9 against teams in the top 25. Against teams over 100, they sit at 18-2.
Rock.
I think that was the midweek that they had this week.
Yep, Little Rock on Kids Day.
And South Alabama?
Yes, South Alabama, I think.
There is no available – well, hold on. They could sneak in a midweek where there's been a few rumblings of schools that if they need the RPI boost that they could sneak in. I don't know if Ole Miss is one of them, but I hadn't heard of that. But they do have a spot available March 2nd. They could try and sneeze one in. Maybe they go play a road game somewhere. Maybe they go to OU. Wouldn't that be hilarious if they went to OU early and they were like, hey, we want to play you on Tuesday?
No, just drive over to instead of flying to Oklahoma, drive over, see if any SWAC team. No, you don't need a SWAC team.
You need a good RPI boost.
You need
Southern Miss. Is Southern Miss free that day?
Let me check.
Is
Tulane? Get Tulane, or they might not be good RPI.
We're talking about RPI boost. That would be March 6th, by the way, or May 6th. May 6th.
So
I'll go to D1.
Southern Miss is available.
Interesting.
Southern Miss is available.
That is finals week, though. But in the SEC, it just means more.
Let me. I mean, I don't know what I haven't done my Tulane breakdowns for the week. I'm gonna take my sweet time with that. But
that is Ole Miss that we were talking about, by the way. That could play something.
Yeah,
that would be funny. That'd be really funny. But Hayden Federico has been really good for them. I think Ole Miss is gonna have to pay a lot of money to keep him at Ole Miss in a good way. In a good way. Like he's definitely earned it. He's a player that you need to keep around. I don't know what his aspirations are in terms of why he went to Ole Miss, but if Ole Miss wants to have him back next year, they need to really kind of pay up for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the back half of the year now where we do hear of rumors of kids possibly leaving. I've been hearing some in the mid majors, not really in the SEC, but I can definitely see LSU making a run at Hayden Federico, trying to bring him home to Louisiana, especially with probably Daniel Dickinson getting drafted this year.
Allegedly.
And I mean, no, he can't play first base, but
that would be. But again, I think Hayden Federico is probably the best player on Ole Miss's team because I think Luke Hill's gone after this season too. He's going to get drafted.
Yes.
They're going to have to reload in the portal, but I think Ole Miss is going to be fine. How many SEC teams do you think host at this point? Texas, LSU, Tennessee. I want to say Arkansas, but they're going the wrong way.
Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU.
And then that collection of Ole Miss, Auburn,
Bama.
Arkansas, Bama. I think that collection of Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, and Bama, two from that group.
I'm going to check one schedule because I want to see. There's one sneaky team coming up. Ooh.
Don't say it.
Who do you think I'm going to say?
A&M.
No.
Okay. I was like, I know you've been a lot higher on A&M than probably everybody in the country, but
Vanderbilt's going to be sneaking up there.
They said that. What do you think they're going to be ranked tomorrow?
Vanderbilt?
They're going to be 12th. They're going to be 12th tomorrow. Vanderbilt.
Yes.
A&M's not going to be ranked tomorrow.
No. I'll be honest. I'm going to do my rankings after this probably, and I'm going to start because my 2, 3, and 4 lost this week: Arkansas, Tennessee, and Georgia, and I'm kind of lost on what to do there. And I was joking with you that I was going to put A&M in the top 15 to get some reaction from people, but
didn't Clemson lose?
And I think Clemson did. Well, Georgia Tech also lost their series. They got swept by Miami.
I think they got swept. Yeah, they got swept by an unranked team. Let me double check just to make sure. Yeah, Clemson. Oh, Clemson lost today or on Saturday. They didn't.
Yeah, they took I think a good Louisville team.
Let's kind of reel it back in here as we kind of roll down the stretch here. A few other games that we need to get through. The LSU Tigers in probably the most dramatic taking 2 of 3 series ever. A lot of LSU fans need to remember that LSU did take 2 of 3 against a top 15 team. They played. You saw them on Friday or on Thursday, right?
Yes, Thursday.
They played really good. Alabama did a weird thing where they pitched Zane Adams on Saturday, Riley Quick Friday, and they went with their normal Sunday guy. Really kind of came back to bite them in the ass. But the good news is they are kind of set up for the next weekend going ahead as Riley Quick and Zane Adams. Zane Adams was great again, but Tyler Fay only lasting 3 innings. He was good enough, but again on very, very limited stuff. And then
he was good.
You roll out 7 pitchers on Friday. I feel like that just reeks.
That diminished their chances of winning.
That just reeks of we are gonna see what we get. We're playing matchups. Here's the other part that was crazy. They kind of were on Cade Anderson. He didn't really have his best stuff. LeBron had a home run, I believe.
No,
that was later. Brady Neal had that was what it was. Brady Neal had the home run in his return.
Yes, Brady Neal homered. Cade Snell had 2 home runs off of Cade. I reached out to a couple people that have seen Cade throw. I've reached out to a couple SEC coaches to see what they thought of Cade struggling these last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. They think that he just pitch sequence. It's the most obvious. When you get to a 2-strike count, you're going to see his curveball, and a good 50% of the time it's hit or miss that he's going to leave it up or he's actually going to execute and get it down. So Cade Snell had the perfect approach against him this weekend.
That's interesting, yeah, because he has been a little bit off the radar, if you will. But, Jay Johnson pulled out all the stops in game 1 and game 2 to win them. Pinch hits Josh Pearson, pinch hits Aston Larson. I believe Tanner Reeves got pinch hit for later on game 2, right?
He got an AB in every series this weekend. I mean
Jay's pulling out all the stops. He's playing the matchups.
Yeah, that's the good thing about this LSU team. We talked to Aston Larson after game 1. He had that very clutch 3-run home run. This is a guy that started majority of the games in his freshman year and then came in sophomore year, loses the job to Josh Pearson, Jake Brown. Jake Brown comes on the scene. Larson struggles. But
Curiel,
Curiel, he was going to come in and start no matter what. Stanfield transferred in. But Larson has stayed patient, and every time he gets an opportunity against righty, he's always put up good ABs too. He just happened to get a very good AB against Austin Morris and did damage.
The rest is history, as they say.
Yes.
Riley Quick, LSU, he grinded through that one. They chased him in the 4th after 4 runs allowed. Anthony Ianson was very free and easy. 6 innings, 12 Ks. After 115 pitches, Cowan brings him home with 45. And, that was all she wrote in that 4th victory. Bama kind of chipped away late. They got one in the 7th, one in the 9th. It really did feel like Bama ran out of time. But the good news is for Jay Johnson that it ultimately doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you got your 12th SEC win. You need one win in the next 4 weeks to feel really good about getting into the tournament. They're about as much of a lock as anybody can be that's not officially in, as they only need to win one game going forward.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, I'll say this. I think LSU let them off the hook a little bit. There was a Bama team that was quickly going in the wrong direction, that probably was at a tipping point in their season, and they get the, outing of the year from Zane Adams. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run allowed, 3 walks on 89 pitches, probably his max. Oz down the stretch kind of really gave him a good job. LSU, again, used a just barrage of pitchers to try and find stuff. And
they started Connor Ware instead of Chase Shores.
That was a little bit odd, I will say. But then they bring in Chase Shores, but then Chase Shores isn't really that effective.
In the SEC pitching rotation release, they had Chase Shores listed as game 3. That's what confused me. They must have saw something against the top or rotation. They maybe wanted to see a lefty again, first time through. But I mean, the arms they threw after Shores, Primo did good. Cooper Williams, has not gotten the recognition that he should be getting. He's thrown, I think, in 11 games, is not allowed to earn run. William Schmidt then struggled. It feels like ever since he's gone into SEC, literally, I think Jay Johnson cursed him. Jay Johnson said he will probably never pitch on a Tuesday again after, I think it was the North Dakota State's game.
He's cursed him.
Yeah, he struggled. 3 walks, 2 earned, 2 wild pitches. But yeah, I mean, it's a good series win. I feel like a lot of LSU fans, they don't watch a lot of LSU baseball, I feel like.
You are correct, by the way, that Cooper McWilliams has yet to allow a run in SEC play. Well, granted, okay. 1 inning. Didn't record an out against Mississippi State.
I'm talking about Cooper Williams in general.
Yeah, I think he's only pitched 2 innings in SEC play. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on that one, Andrew.
No, I was talking about in general. He's been very good this year. He threw against DBU in that midweek. He threw when I saw him against Nebraska Omaha, and I think he threw against North Dakota State when I went. But he's a freshman lefty that he's just kind of jumbled in that whole mix of, you have Connor Ware, Primo, a little bit older lefties that he's like, okay, like I'm going to get my chance soon. But
yeah, I think that LSU's got, I'll say this about LSU. I think that they're not as good as national media leads them on to be, but they're not as bad as the casual fan makes them out to be. I think they're a top 5 team at the end of the day. I think that's just what they are. Like that's really great. I think a lot of people kind of try and move them into that 1 or 2 conversation with Texas and Tennessee, and I think that they're a visual step behind them. But again, they're casual fans freaking out after them losing a game on Sunday to a team that's, really desperately needed that win. Alabama, I will say this about them. They sit at 9-9 in the SEC. They get their Missouri bye this weekend, and they finish with Georgia, Vandy, Georgia, and Florida. They need probably one win to get into the SEC, to get into the tournament outside of Missouri, barring a monumental collapse. But I think if they can get the hot, cold, hot theory down and they can get like they were playing at the beginning of April, they become, a dangerous team again. But, they're just kind of stuck in a rut right now. And luckily for LSU, LSU kind of caught them on an off weekend, if you will.
Yeah.
It's just life in the SEC. When you get people on off weekends, you got to take advantage of it, and LSU did.
Yeah.
We'll move on to probably the biggest shocker of the weekend. The Georgia Bulldogs, their road woes continue as they are swept, and they've now lost 6 straight road games. They sit at 3-6 overall in road games. 3-1, 13-7, 5-2. I wouldn't say that 5-2 game was that competitive. I was watching that game.
It was not.
Thursday really wasn't. I mean, J.D. Thompson absolutely shoved. You felt like once they got that third run, like everything was just so deflating for this Georgia team. They need to figure out how to win on the road. And luckily, they're going to get to learn about it in Missouri.
Yeah.
But I think that this kind of knocks Georgia down a few notches in my head.
Yeah.
The good news is they probably don't have to leave fully.
Let me.
In terms of a super regional and regional.
Oh yeah, they'll host. They'll somehow find their way in that top 12 to host. I think they'll run into a team like they did last year with NC State that can just pitch to them and shut down their bats when the lights were at their brightest.
I'm really curious to see how this upcoming series with OU goes for Georgia.
Yes.
I think that this will tell us a lot because the Witherspoon twins travel. Cade Crossland's been really good.
Very good.
But, I mean, I think Vandy proved – there was a great article by Aria Gerson from the Tennessean that said, don't doubt Tim Corbin. And I think that at the end of the day, that's kind of what happened is a bunch of people like us, our fat cats in the media – we're starting to kind of check out on Tim Corbin, and he kind of reminded us again. Yeah, it's still a bad idea to sleep on a Tim Corbin-led Vandy team. That's the headline that she said.
Well, if I can remember, I think a young gentleman did say a couple weeks ago that Vanderbilt will find their way in the top. Okay, yeah, here's the exact quote. I think after these next 3 weeks, once Vandy plays Ole Miss, we'll be talking about Vandy being a top 15 team in the country again.
Who could have done that?
I wonder who said that, but I think this Vandy team is trending upward, which it's really good to see J.D. Thompson like go out there and shove like the way he did because I'm a really big J.D. Thompson fan.
Oh, you and me, I think, are probably his biggest fans.
Yes. He does, like, when we talk about SEC aces that do not get talked about, it is literally him.
I'll say this. I think the 2 most underrated guys in the SEC for their position, and again, their position is stacked, but it's Colby Shelton and J.D. Thompson. Like, it's easy.
Second base pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, J.D. Thompson had 21 whiffs on his fastball on Friday against Georgia. He had swing and miss stuff. He's a violent lefty. I remember when I watched him pitch last year in College Station, his stuff really does jump off the plate. He's going to be a really good guy going forward for Vandy, but Vandy scored double-digit runs in an SEC game. Like, that was the part that was really the craziest for me. is I don't think that they did it in that Auburn one, but where it got really weird on that Saturday, and then they did it in Kentucky, but they did it early. Like, I can't think of his name right now. It was in a Colton Smith start. And Colton Smith's been, trending towards being back into that Saturday guy. But this was the ultimate exposure of Georgia. Georgia kind of felt like their pitching was starting to kind of get it figured out. They're like, okay, we feel really good about Brian Curley on Friday. We're starting to get Leighton Finley working back up again. Colton Smith's our Saturday guy. Like, we got it.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting back. Wes Johnson's going to the – well, he probably didn't go to the office today. He's going to go into the office Monday morning and say, what the heck just happened? Everything I thought we knew about our pitching staff, I don't.
It's literally everything that I feel like we've been trying to preach on this show. It's like Georgia's pitching's not that good.
Here was the ultimate weirdo thing is that they throw Goldstein in mop-up role, and he's really good.
Imagine going from a Friday night guy in the SEC to, okay, we're down 13-7. Go out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was just wild.
I mean, he almost nearly didn't throw. They scored a 4 in the top of the 7th to avoid the run rule.
Yeah, that was the part that was. But do they move him up into a more important role?
I'm shocked that they haven't. I'm shocked that he wasn't the first one to follow up Colton Smith in this game.
I never know what they're doing with this staff. Like, I mean that like.
Which is crazy because you have Wes Johnson as your head coach / pitching coach.
Yeah, like it should be like we're at April 20th, April 21st if you're watching this tomorrow. And Georgia still does not know who their pitching staff is.
I think the only thing they're confident about is that Brian Curley will be their guy on Friday.
What did you make of Devin Obi pinch hitting and then only starting in one game?
I didn't get it. I mean,
I didn't get that either. I thought that was pretty odd.
Maybe he was battling something that we didn't know of. Maybe they were trying to, test some things out. Like, wanted to see how. I mean, he came in for Christian Adams in the 9th.
Henry Hunter didn't play either in that run roll.
Yeah,
Dan Jackson.
Dan Jackson did good. So
yeah, he had 3 RBIs.
Yeah,
Brandon Hudson. Wait, Brandon.
He had a home run. Yeah,
I might need to track that a little bit closer and go back and rewatch the Wheels because I actually didn't watch the Wheels for this one.
Brody Johnson had a.
Brody Johnson was phenomenal. I kept watching Brody Johnson highlights. Mancini, I think, had a good one. A good hit too.
Yeah.
Let me see the one that I was thinking of. Let me go to plays.
I think Mancini went. No.
Barcy was the one that I was thinking of. Barcy had that home run that I thought was pretty good. And then Brody obviously had the home run too as well. I feel like, we'll talk about them. Well, actually, good transition. Vandy's not going to score 13 runs every single game, but they can do just enough to keep them in. And again, I think they're going to win a lot more games like they won on Thursday, 3-1, 5-2 on Saturday. Georgia's obviously got a ton. I think Georgia might be the worst good team. That's my best. Like, they're good. They're going to be in the tournament. They're probably going to be hosting, but they have the most question marks from they're still working through personnel stuff, I would say.
Yeah, it feels like no matter what, this team's going to be like their offense. You know what the offense is going to do. Like, yeah, they kind of staggered this weekend.
They staggered against Texas too.
Yeah, they did. It feels like since they will probably be hosting, I think they won't stagger into a regional.
They peaked too early. That's my theory with them.
I think they could have peaked too early, but you can't peak when it's. I think their offense could have peaked too early. Their pitching still hasn't left the
station.
They're still trying to figure out who's going to lead the way. They think Brian Curley's going to do it. He's trying to fight with Leighton Finley, and now you got Charlie Goldstein piling up coal in the back. So it's
just garbage time.
Yeah.
I'll move over to probably the biggest shock of the weekend for me. The Kentucky Wildcats lose Friday night and take the next 2 4-1 and 8-2. And the 8-2 game today was not even really that competitive, if you will. Liam Doyle absolutely shoves for them again. He blows him a kiss goodbye on Friday night. And that was pretty much all she wrote for Tennessee the entire weekend. Hunter Ainsley had that 8th inning one and the 4-1 victory. And then today, I mean, it was just an onslaught of Kentucky, basically from the jump. Ainsley again had the home run in the 6th to kind of chip into it. It could have been a lot worse, I can be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the part that I think is a little bit funny. For as much shit as Tennessee fans talked after Friday night, it felt like that series last year when they played Alabama and they won Friday night. And you're like, oh, yeah, like they're going to take the series. And then you blink and you're like, wait, what? Like, am I reading that right? They lost?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like we literally just said about J.D. Thompson with Ben Cleaver and Nick McKay. They've both been very solid, very good.
I'm a big Ben Cleaver guy.
Yeah, same. Ben Cleaver.
And Nick McKay. Nick McKay is the 3rd oldest player in college baseball.
I mean, they went toe-to it's tough to go into Knoxville and go toe-to-toe with a team that like on paper, this offense has been putting up crazy, ridiculous numbers and then only give up 3 runs combined as the 2 starters did.
Yeah, I mean, they have a really good bullpen. Caius Garnett has been another kind of bright spot for them too as well. But for Tennessee, what did you make of them having Manny Marin start at short and then Dean Curley starting at second? I thought that was a little bit odd.
Yeah, that was. I mean,
that was a contingency plan for a little bit when they thought Andrew Fisher was going to play third, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, but he hasn't played third. I mean,
they started Dalton Bargo at third, by the way.
Ew. Yeah, but then they moved them into left, and
and they started Manny Marin,
and then they brought Ariel. I mean, it's also Ariel hasn't been swinging the bat. He's one hell of a defensive replacement, but you need to start having guys swing the bats. I mean, Cannon Peebles has been a guy that's been getting hot as of lately, but
they started Stone Lawless too.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just trying. They're just in
a rut, and it's not a good rut, especially when you're heading into the box this weekend.
They need an edge. I feel like early in the year, Tennessee. Sorry, I'm kind of messing with my head a little bit. I know it's really weird on the camera. I feel like early in the year, Tennessee had this edge because they weren't seen as the number 1 team, and really ever since that they became the number 1 team, I feel like, and their fan base included, they thought like the season was over. Like, it's like, okay, like we're the number 1 team again. Like, ha 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 for doubting us. But I mean, Tony V says they're not the most talented team in the SEC a few weeks ago at A&M. Ole Miss, they are getting saved by Liam Doyle right now in a good way. And I think that Liam Doyle's keeping a lot of their, they're masking their issues, if they will. But I mean, this is a team that I think is just in a rut. And luckily they have Liam Doyle. You know what it reminds me of? And again, I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but it reminds me of that LSU team in 23 where they had all these issues with guys that were talented and guys that you could trust. But at the end of the day, the only thing that you could really count on was their center fielder to hit home runs and knock guys in, and their Friday night guy to throw 7 innings of shutout ball. That's really about the only thing Tennessee can kind of count on right now. They need to figure out some other parts of these really fast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that those 2 went number 1 and 2 in the draft that year. But I mean, Marcus Phillips threw good, not great on Saturday or Friday it was Saturday.
But he gets outdueled by Nick McKay at the end of
the walks were an issue for him. He walked 4. Then Dylan Loy followed that up and wasn't good. I mean, it feels like
AJ Russell did throw though.
Yes.
So what? I think he would have been the Sunday guy if Tennessee didn't need him, but Tennessee really wanted to win that game on Saturday. I think that's what it was.
I mean, they pulled Tegan Kuntz today after an inning and 2/3. They were very short leash with him today. 35 pitches. I mean, he did walk 2. They went real quick to Arvidsson, and then Nate Snead and Tanner Franklin. I think we're gonna see.
I really think that
AJ Russell start this Sunday.
I think the biggest guy right now for Tennessee is one, the health of Gavin Keelan, but two, I think it's Tanner Franklin. I mean, the last few weeks, I feel like he hasn't lived up to, the standard that he is as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if Tennessee wants to go from a really good team to that elite team that's, going to do damage in Omaha, it's going to have to start with somebody like Tanner Franklin, being that shutdown guy. We'll give you the ball the 8th inning shores.
Yeah. I mean, well, it was weird today. They kind of gave him – they gave him the ball in a 3-2 deficit today. Did he pitch on Friday? No. It was
they need to figure out –
Well, it's a Franklin. I mean, he was –
Is it worth it, you think? Obviously, Keelan's not at 100%. But when Keelan comes back, do you think they move Dean Curley to short, Keelan to second, and that just solves all their issues?
Yeah, I think that does, because you then have 2 reliable bats.
And then they can bring in another DH. Like, that's the other thing.
Ozuna, yeah, you can bring Ozuna back.
AJ Abernathy. We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
he pinch hit.
He's also. It feels like he started getting a little hype, too, a couple weeks ago, and then he just went to the slump. So
yeah, he's got to obviously. I mean, he's doing the freshman slump, and I mean, when Tennessee's looking for, because they had a DH that was taking another one of their outfield spots, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they run they have 6 guys for 4 spots, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think Tanner Franklin's got to be a little bit better for him. This is going to be one of those series that, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much because, it's just a 2 of 3. But this is now back-to-back series losses for Tennessee at home at Lindsey Nelson.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask Tennessee fans what's going wrong, they're going to say burn down the place. We need to build a new stadium. This team's cursed. We're not going to make the tournament. It's panic time in Knoxville. No, Kentucky's a good team. Kentucky doesn't get talked about enough. Granted, yeah, their record is 22-15. They're 8-10 in the SEC.
They've had a lead in
17 of those 8.
Yes, Texas on Sunday being the one, and again they had the go-ahead run on base. So
I think it's not fair that they said they had a lead in this game. On game 1, they led in the top of the first. They scored 2 runs, and then Tennessee instantly scored 3 in the bottom of the first. That's not fair. Just say
it counts.
But yeah, this Kentucky team they're under the radar. They'll be sneaky good.
They're gonna go to one of these teams that probably shouldn't host in one of these. They're gonna go to the West Virginia Regional, and they're gonna dominate it. That's what's gonna happen to them. We'll move on to the final series of the weekend. The Mississippi State Bulldogs hosted the Florida Gators. Florida takes 2 of 3. Florida's ability to attack the bullpen is the difference in this series. Pico Khan goes 5 innings, 2 runs. Evan Siri goes 4 innings, 2 runs, and their 2 losses. Here's the bullpen. 3 innings, 13 runs allowed on Friday. What is this? Sorry, I'm just doing the math in my head. 5 innings, 7 runs allowed. This is one where if you're Mississippi State and you kind of get down that stretch when you need to get to that 13th win, you are going to be kicking yourself. You dropped this series. And it was good job on them salvaging again today. But, man, Mississippi State needed this one.
I mean, Liam Peterson threw okay Friday night. And then Aiden King wasn't that solid. Yeah, no, he wasn't solid. He stunk. But the bullpen was solid enough. And
Billy Barlow was really good.
Yeah,
Jake Clemente, if you remember, he was – or Clement.
Yeah, he was
yeah, remember when he was supposed to be their starter at the beginning of the year, was their Sunday guy?
But then some guy – we're never going to see Pierce Coppola again probably, so we're just waiting final word on that. It feels like every day, but it just the pitching was good enough this weekend to keep a boring Mississippi State. I can't even say boring because they made it entertaining.
They can hit. I'll say this:
they can hit.
They are an under. Like Ace Reese has a ton of pop for him.
Ace Reese. It feels like we talk about him every week and like how he's doing so good.
Garrick Friel, I really like his swing. He had another home run again today.
Yeah.
But I did want to give a big shout out to let me make sure I get it correctly. Joe Powell, who hit a 3-run home run. He's another one with just an incredible story. He was a volunteer fireman, and he just went back to school way later than he should have. He has no plans to graduate. The second he's out, he's going to go back to being a fireman again. He's respect. Here we go. Graduate student from Mason, Ohio.
Oh, so he already has a bachelor's. They just found an extra year, and they're like, "Hey, just take these just take these BS master classes."
Yeah, class of 2020. Basically, hey, go be a fireman. But Mississippi State is going to be kicking themselves that they lost this one. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I think I figured out why I chose this Florida team to win, and it's because this lineup is scrappy good to go into places like the Dude or the Dudley Noble and to
Duty Noble,
my bad. To go into Duty Noble and just silent them.
Colby Shelton, by the way, that's a good transition into Florida. Last year, 205, 1 home run across. That was in the Cape. 254, 20 home runs. This year he's got a little bit new stance. 374. I think he's a little bit more agile too at shortstop too as well, taking better angles. I mean, we need to start talking about him as an all SEC type of player.
Same with Brody Dunay. Brody Dunay had a weekend too.
Yeah, the midweek merchant, if you will. Which, by the way, ESPN half called him out on the broadcast again today. They were like, yeah, he got his first home run in SEC play last night. He's got a really quiet swing if he can work through some of his issues with his barrel skills. I think he's another guy that you can kind of talk about as being an X factor for this Florida team.
Yeah, and the crazy thing too, I'm looking at his stats right now. His strikeout numbers are nearly slashed in half. Struck out 74 times last year, 36 times this year, 11 home runs, 27 RBIs. He's already beat his hit count from last year. He's spraying the ball all over the field. It feels like he's gotten more confidence in his second year with UF. So he is an X factor that I think
it's his third year at UF, by the way. I would have to get that because he was at Virginia Tech for a year.
2024. This is third year in general, but second year.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, I always get it confused. But I mean, he's a monster. Florida again, they're starting to creep back into it. Just when you thought I was out, they pull me back in. They now have 5 wins in the SEC. Still a big hill to climb to really. They have 6 wins in the SEC. Still a big hill to kind of climb. They need to get to that. Let me see. Let me double check and make sure with their RPI with where it is. Non-conference RPI of 3, strength of schedule of 6. They feel like the SEC team that only needs 12 wins. Arkansas, South Carolina, Texas, Alabama. They need 5 wins across 4 weekends. Do you think that they get it?
I think they do, but there's something also very nonchalant in that U.S. schedule that I was just looking at. They have a midweek against Georgia Southern and USF. Those are must wins, and they probably will win those games. USF right now.
That would be a good RPI. That's a good RPI game for them.
South Florida right now has an RPI of 74, surprisingly. They have dropped like last week since they have been playing conference.
They played Rice.
Yeah,
Rice beat them.
Rice swept them, or did they sweep? I don't know.
They did not. They won on Friday.
But South Florida is 74, and then Georgia Southern is
South Florida gets UTSA and East Carolina. That's going to bump their RPI up significantly.
Yeah,
that's a must win.
That's a must win for them. And people say that midweeks don't matter. They do matter.
So they get South Carolina and Texas. They need to go 4-2 over those weekends.
Yes, and I think they'll take 2 out of 3 from South Carolina. I think they take 1 from Arkansas. I think if they do stick with Gage Wood on Saturday, that's a home game. I think they can maybe even win the series.
They need to take 2 of 3 from Arkansas. They need to sweep South Carolina, and that makes you feel a lot better about the buzzsaw that's waiting at the back end.
I mean, you don't know what direction Alabama is going. I mean, they did drop 2 out of 3 to LSU.
Alabama's going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting because they can kind of work themselves back into either a 1 or 2.
But I think I mean that USF or that USF midweek and that Georgia Southern midweek on Tuesday. Those are like 2
must wins.
Like people say those midweeks don't count. Tulane made a regional a couple years ago just because they won a midweek at UNC Wilmington right before they played ECU, and it was the year that UNC Wilmington, I think, won the CAA. So I got to double check what year that was, but I remember hearing from a committee member saying, Tulane got RPI help from UNC Wilmington on a midweek.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate us doing this again. Week 6 is in the books. Week 7 is coming up. We'll have your Week 7 recap Wednesday night. Thanks, everyone.